Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show on this September the 9th, 2022, a Friday. Thank you for tuning in. I'm glad to have you guys here. Well, since the charts are started already, let's get into talking about what's going on. As you guys already know, and I found out yesterday when I was getting some tires put on my van, that the Queen died. It's kind of the end of an era. Well, it really, we entered into 2020, we entered into a new paradigm, so to speak. Now, with the Queen's passage, it's even making this emphasis even more striking that we're into a new era when central banks have taken control of the world now at this point. This is the new era we're in. And the ECB, these central banks are working in unison with one another. And it's becoming apparent to me now at this point that the central banks, are going to basically squeeze the general population at the same time support the banking system. So we got an article here. The ECB scrutinizes bank readiness for possible tsunami of energy company defaults. They're talking here about $1.5 trillion. It says here. It says it gets better because the crisis is explained by Norwegian energy giant Equinor ASA warned that unless there is government intervention to extend liquidity to energy companies, there could be a, get ready for this, margin call of upwards of $1.5 trillion, evidently in Europe. And they're talking about energy rationing to the point now where they won't let people turn their thermostats up past 20 degrees Celsius. So in America, you guys, I think that's 60 degrees Fahrenheit. I think it is. Anyway, it's cold. In other words, they're going to make them keep their houses cold in Europe, and they're going to fine them. This is some abnormal amount, like more than each day if they turn their thermostats up any. But also, they're creating this energy bubble where they've actually used the term, and I heard them use this term, flatten the curve of energy use. We've heard that term before, haven't we? To flatten the curve. So, that's in Europe, but it could spread. The problems in Europe could actually spread to the rest of the world. Let's take a look at this article right here. Lagarde says that ECB can't offer liquidity to energy firms. Now, this is from today, this article. Well, they just said if they don't offer this money to these energy firms, liquidity or money to the energy firms, it could be a $1.5 trillion meltdown. Right? But here the central bank has said they've turned down the aid for request. It says that the European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde ruled out providing short-term financing lines to struggling energy firms, saying that's the job of the European Union governments. It says in this current very volatile environment, it is important that physical measures be put in place to provide liquidity to solvent energy market participants, and particularly utility firms. Lagarde told a news conference Friday in Prague. As far as the ECB is concerned and national central banks of the Euro system, of course, we will stand ready to provide liquidity to banks, but not to energy firms, she said. Okay, so they're going to provide liquidity to the banking structure. And here in the United States as well, more than likely. But they're not going to provide liquidity to you in the form of stimmy checks anymore to the people. But will they? The thing is this is what I think that these central bank digital currencies, and the Fed has got a new central bank digital currency coming out very soon called FedNow. It's not a CBDC though. I just said a CBDC. No, it's not a CDBC. but it could lead the way to a CBDC. And I think this is really the central issue here. I think what we're actually working toward is creating a problem, and then the CBDC is going to be the solution. The problem is going to be they're going to constrain people's income. Not really constrain your income, but constrain the purchasing power of your income. So that what's going to happen is it's going to squeeze the people. In other words, your paycheck isn't going to last to the end of the month. You're going to need help, and they're going to be coming to offer the help in the form of a digital money that they have control over. And of course, you're going to have to connect to that in order to get help. And when you get help, you're going to be connecting to their system and to their control over you. And I think that's what this is really all about. They're really pushing for this really hard. And of course, ultimately getting rid of cash so that they can supervise every transaction that takes place in the system. Let's get in there and take a look at the markets today. We're seeing the silver price up by 18 cents. You know, basically what this means, guys, is what this is all about, really, is everybody out there, all of us, the people, we're all going to get squeezed. They're forcing out the middle class. They're going to squeeze us down, condense us until we're all on the digital currencies. They're going to hyperinflate the dollar, and you're going to get, what's going to happen to you and all of us out here is we're all going to slowly get poor and poorer and poorer as prices go up and wages do not increase to keep up with prices. And we're going to see very slowly we all get harder and harder for us to make and put a meal on the table in the end. In the end, it's going to come down to, right now, I know some of you out there right now are saying, come on, Glenn, come on. No, listen, in a year from now or 2 years from now, you're going to say, Glenn, you're right. You're right. Right now, some of you out there are making darn good money, making $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 a year, $200,000 even. Okay, you're making pretty good money, and you're able to save money still. Prices have increased a little bit, but it's not hurt you that bad. Well, prices are going to increase a lot more, and the amount of money you got coming in is probably not going to increase very much, not going to keep up. And what's going to happen is you're going to notice that you're at first, even if you're making a lot of money, at first you're going to notice that what you're able to save every month is going to be a little bit less every month over the next number of months. And then after a while, you're not going to be able to save any money at all. Or your money's going to start to be drained out. And in the front of the month, when you get paid, or whenever you get paid, or whenever you get your money, it ain't going to last to the end of the month any longer. And in fact, after a while, you're going to start to go behind. They're squeezing everybody. Unless you're ultra rich. They're going to squeeze all of the middle class down to the point where they all need to connect to this Federal Reserve system. And then they have control over you, ultimately. Because they can cut you off then. And then once they they're creating the problem. And the problem is the middle class people all around the world are going to be crying for help financially, so that they can feed themselves and so that they can have at least a little bit of heat. It's going to be considered a luxury soon if you can turn your thermostat up to 60 degrees, which is shiveringly cold inside your house. But it's going to seem warm in comparison. Because if the temperature outside is, say, 0 and your house is plus 20, and that's centigrade, or if we're talking Fahrenheit here, if the temperature outside is like 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and inside your house is 60 degrees, well, that seems warm in comparison. See, it's all about comparison. And, I mean, that's going to be a luxury if you can actually turn your thermostat up that high. That's what they're going to get you down to. They're going to get you down to the point where you can't afford any form of meat any longer. You have to eat pasta every day practically, and you have to wait until it's on sale. They're going to get you down to where you can't travel in your car across town because gas prices are so high. They're going to get you down to the point where you need that extra income so bad just to feed yourself that you're willing to do anything, willing to sign up for any Fed coin system that they're going to put in. And that's going to make the reason too, see? That's going to make them look like the heroes for supplying this universal basic income to all the people, but it's all about control. They have you where they want you then at that point, so for their new dystopic type system. But now I talked about the failure, the fly in the ointment for them the other day, and you know what it is? You know what's going to happen to them ultimately? Well, ultimately all this is going to end in a hyperinflation. And their currency is going to lose value, and so that's when they start to lose control, is as the currency actually hyperinflates to the point where that control that they have with the currency, if the currency's not backed by nothing, this is the fly in the ointment for them. How do they get out of that? Well, they're planning some sort of a great reset, a reset of the currency, but I'm not sure how that works, or how they're going to get out of this. I can't see any other way except they're going to have to back their currency with something of value. Otherwise, I don't see any other way out of this. We're in for some awfully strange times. And we're in the middle of awfully strange times. And I'm just sitting here watching in astonishment. But what I'm doing is I'm making a record here of all of the indexes each and every day. I've been doing it for very many years now. I knew this situation was coming, but it's taken longer to get here than I thought. And I've been making this record. This is a video record, a video blog of a video record of what's happening, but I'm also keeping you guys up to date on the changes that are coming. And, you know, they're awful tricky, the ones who are implementing these changes. And I have to be flexible to see these changes coming ahead of time. It helps you guys out, you know. And so we're continuing on with this show here, and let's take a look now at silver's up 15 cents. Let's take a look at gold today. It's up $5 today. Now cryptocurrency has caught a bid. Why is everything catching a bid today? I heard thanks to Greg Manarino, I heard that there's something going on. I'm trying to verify it. I've been on the internet trying to verify what he's saying and about how. Anyway, a special thanks out to him for putting me on to it, and I'm trying to find out what exactly they're doing. They're with the banks in the ECB. And I think that's somehow affecting the outlook for the markets today. And I'm working on that story. I'm digging around in the news trying to find what I can find on it, you know. But anyway, he must have did some digging to find that. And so anyway, I'm thankful for him doing his research, you know, to stay on top of these criminal gang of banksters out there who are controlling our system now at this point. And who mean to get rid of the middle class people. Destroy us financially. So we need all the help we can get. And researchers out there are big help to know, because us middle class people or I should say who have been middle class and they're cutting the legs right out from underneath us. Anyway, guys, I could go on and on about this. But Bitcoin's up today. They've cracked back above a trillion. So it's $1.040 trillion. So it's gained about $100 billion overnight. You know, and now Bitcoin is 21,000 and Ethereum is 1722. So it's popped a little bit. Caught a bid. Take a look at what's this? Yahoo Finance. Where are we here in the Dow? Let's click on the Dow. The Dow's up 355 points on the day. So you can see the liquidities come into the system from someplace, and I think it must be what he's talking about over at Greg's channel. But I'm trying to find exactly where. They've poured liquidity in here, and I can see it in all the markets that they've poured. But this means that they're planning on supporting the upper end of the system and hauling the rug out from under all of us to create a problem. We already got 20 million people that can't pay their power bill. And they're going to offer the solution. Here, we'll help you pay your power bill every month. Just sign on the dotted line. Sign your life away. Sign your soul over to us, the central bank. And now we'll send you a little stipend so you can pay for your electric bill. But don't you turn that thermostat over 20 degrees Celsius or 60 degrees Fahrenheit in the winter. And don't you turn it over, say, I don't know, 80 to 85 degrees in the summer. You know what they're going to do? They'll put smart thermostats in the end so they know what you're doing. They'll be able to see it back at headquarters and fine you automatically. It'll come right out of your stipend to pay your bills. And so then they'll turn it all off on you just as quick if you do turn the thermostat 1 degree too high or 1 degree too low when they tell you. They're going to control your life completely. This is the whole thing. You'll have nothing and you'll be happy. Complete control over your life, like you're an automaton or a robot. They give the command, and if you don't obey the command immediately, then your credit score is going to go down. And you won't get any carbon emissions or whatever. You won't even be able to go to the grocery store. In the end, I look, years ago, I told you guys they're going to do this. I said, you let them go, just let them be, leave them alone, let them do what they're going to do, and give them full power. And in the end, they'll have breathing licenses. And you'll have to keep your breathing license up to date. Guys have heard me say this years ago. Or they'll come and put a clamp on your face, and you won't let you breathe, unless you keep your breathing license up. Oh, your breathing license expired. Grab that citizen, hold him down, and put the clamp on him. This is the kind of place we're headed. This kind of dystopian control, like they have like they've had in some places in the world, or still have. Not going to mention them anyway. I'm getting rattling away here, and I'm getting off track a little bit. Crude oil, 85.78 today. It's up $2.24. Move index today is 124. So see, it's come down from like the 130s. This is a little bit of liquidity they're pouring in. Bonds and rates today, we're seeing bond yields on the long end, we're seeing them fall a little bit. We're looking at a 10-year at 3.27, and we're looking at a 30-year at 3.43. And we fell 2 basis points, looks like, on the 10-year. And let's check the U.S. dollar index today. It's at 109.04. So it's fell a little bit. I'm not surprised the dollars fell a little bit because they're pumping a little bit of money in somehow. This shows, dollar down and everything else up. That's liquidity coming back into the system a little bit. Is it on the news that the European Central Banks is going to support the European Central banking system in Europe? In other words, a bank bailout for all the banks again? Is that what's causing this? I'm trying to find it. Digging for it. I was digging for it before my show, but it was time to do my show, and I didn't quite find the articles yet. I'm looking for them yet. But I got wind of that from Greg Manarino. Thank you to him. He's got a great channel over there. I tune in quite a bit. He tries to stay on top of things. But there's a few other guys, too, that are really on top of things really good that I like to watch. That I've been watching for years. And anyway, listen, guys. you guys have a nice afternoon today, and try to enjoy these days that we have now before the dystopian gets here. The whole thing, they're going to put a crushing weight on all of us, in the hope that it'll squeeze us to the point where we say, "Ouch, we'll give in, we give in." You know, you know what the whole thing reminds me of, really? Schoolyard bully. You only have to watch, stand back, like, not so much in the modern day now, because they stopped the bullies, but in the old days, there used to be something. Well, I'm talking about like in the 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, when the teachers wouldn't help you if there's a bully after you. There used to be something called schoolyard bullies, and they would be out in the schoolyard, and there might be 100 or 200 kids there in the schoolyard, and they would go and basically, I call it, milk the kids for money. They'd be after their lunch money. Their parents would give them lunch money to eat their lunch, and the schoolyard bully would come up and he would threaten them, basically. "I'm going to punch you in the nose if you don't give me your school money." So he'd get the school money, and then he'd go to the next kid. "I'll punch you in the nose." Then the kids would go hungry that day for lunch. And he'd go around and work his way through the crowd until they called him in from the schoolyard. "Come on in to school," and start the school, And the schoolyard bully would have his pockets right full of money. But he'd go through, and he kept them all in submission through fear. Scared. They were all scared of getting punched in the nose. This works fine for the schoolyard bully, as long as he can keep them all in submission by fear. But what can actually happen is if he goes a little bit too far, the schoolyard bully, and he starts to make them feel threatened, so that they feel like the other kids in the schoolyard feel like he's going to do something to them, really, to hurt them really bad, then they'll get desperate. And they'll all form in the groups, and they'll start talking amongst one another. And what are we going to do? What are we going to do? He's going too far, the schoolyard bully. Now, we can't stand this. And generally what'll happen is they'll pick a hero to go out and fight against the schoolyard bully. And what'll happen is that kid will go out, and he a brave kid, he'll go out and he'll tackle the schoolyard bully. And the schoolyard bully, will, as soon as the other kids see that the schoolyard bully is not invincible, then he better run for the hills at that point. Because he's lost his power over them. Once they can see he's not invincible, that their punches can land blows against him, then the schoolyard bully better run for the hills at that point. It's over. The game's over. Jig's up. Once the schoolyard bully goes too far, too greedy, And this is the way it was for the longest time in schoolyards and stuff, that kids had to fight for themselves. They had to fight off these bullies in the system. And this is basically what we have. We have an enormous bully in the system right now. And ultimately, so far, it hasn't really threatened our very lives so much. But it's going to, because they don't know where to stop. And they're going to keep going and going until in the end, it's like the schoolyard bully. You're going to go too far. And then the people are going to say, "Oh my goodness, if we don't do something, we're going to be squished right out of existence. Or we're going to be hauled in someplace, and they're going to drill a hole in the top of our head and put wires in there. They control us like we're an automaton or a robot. They're going to turn us all into synthetic beings that are connected to their grid system. So if we don't do what they say, they just push a button and cancel us. And some sort of a charge goes down through the wires in the top of our head. And basically, we just stop functioning. They're going to have total control over us. This is their plan, And so we're not even going to be able to think. They'll be able to monitor all of our thoughts, ultimately, in the end, and maybe control our thoughts. Maybe make us all just so that we're not even human anymore. Dehumanize us. Except for the guys at the top. Oh, they're going to be lounging around on their big fancy yachts and stuff and eating their caviar and everything else while they have their slave army working for them. This is a plan, overall the plan. You know, this is what they dream of in their mind. This is their big dreams, you know, to have this kind of dystopian control over everyone on earth. So, but we have our dreams too, you know. We have our dreams of having our world back again, so that we're not constantly thinking about what's coming next. Is it some new virus going to come next, or is it some new rationing, or some, gosh only knows what they're planning for us next, and it's never good. There hasn't been one really good thing happen, really, I can think of. Can you think of anything good since 2020? It's always been bad news, something else coming at us that we're going to have to deal with. I'm getting sick of it all. We want some good news for a while. We want, hey, you know what? We got some good news. It'd be so nice to have some good news for a change. Anyway, I'm rambling. Catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.